All right, today we're going to crack the automation coding interview. Let's be real, it's one of the most nerve-wracking experiences for any of us in the field. But my goal here is to help you transform that anxiety into pure confidence by breaking down what interviewers are really looking for.
But hang on, let me ask you something first. What if the way you're approaching these interviews, how you prep, how you think, how you code under pressure is maybe all wrong? It's a bold thought, I know, but so many brilliant developers fall into these hidden traps that end up costing them the job.
So you can kind of see the two paths an interview can take, right? Over on the left, you've got those common traps that get perfectly good candidates rejected. Coding in silence, just guessing what the interviewer wants. And on the right, those are the strategies that get people hired. Today, it's all about building that bridge from the left side over to the right. Okay, so let's dive into our first section, decoding the interview. And the most important thing to get is right there in the subtitle. It's not just about code. If you can really internalize this one single idea, it's going to be the foundation for everything else we cover. See, the thing is, your interviewer isn't just checking boxes to see if you can write a perfect script. They're trying to see how you think. They want a window into your problem-solving process, and just as important, how you communicate it. They're trying to answer one simple question. What would it be like to work with this person every single day? Now, let's get into our first big technical challenge in Section 2, tackling data manipulation. We're going to use a classic problem, often called the log parser gauntlet. And yeah, it might sound a little intimidating, but trust me, it's a challenge you can absolutely conquer if you have the right approach. So yeah, the log parser is a total classic. You're handed this messy, maybe massive log file, and you're asked to pull specific needles out of that haystack. Find all the lines with a 404 error, or grab every timestamp for a specific user ID. The real goal here is to see how you handle messy, unstructured data in an efficient way. So, how do you tackle it? Well, you definitely don't just jump in and start coding. Step one is you ask questions. Hey, what's the exact format of the error code I should be looking for? And how do you want the output? As a list, maybe? A dictionary? Only then do you start building the core logic, a simple loop to read the file. And finally, you refine it, making sure the output is clean and structured. It shows you're methodical. Okay, now this is where you really separate yourself from the pack. A good solution works with the perfect input. A great solution anticipates that things will go wrong. And this is where thinking out loud is just absolutely golden. You say things like, okay, what if the log file doesn't exist? I'll wrap this in a try-except block so the whole script doesn't crash. And what about weird malformed lines? I'll add a quick check to skip those gracefully. This shows you're not just a coder, you're an engineer building reliable tools. All right, so we've talked data. Now let's pivot to interaction in our next section. We're diving into mastering UI and API interaction, which I'm calling the login simulator gauntlet. This is all about taming the dynamic and, let's be honest, sometimes unpredictable world of the web. So here's the deal. You need to automate the login for a web application. Sounds simple, right? But it's totally packed with hidden challenges. You've got to deal with elements that load at different times, buttons that aren't clickable right away, and then you have to reliably, 100% verify if that login was actually a success. And just like before, you're not going to just dive in. You're going to use a clear step-by-step process. First up, you find stable ways to identify the username field, the password field, and that login button. Then, and this is super critical, you implement smart waits. You don't just tell the script to sleep for 5 seconds and hope for the best. No way. You wait until the button is actually clickable. Only then do you perform your actions. And finally, you assert the outcome. Do we get to the dashboard? Is there a welcome message?
And again, just like before, here's how you really level up. Instead of your test just failing with a generic error, your assertion message should say something clear, like, test failed. Expect it to find the welcome message, but it was not present. That's incredibly valuable feedback. You also want to talk about your strategies for handling elements whose IDs might change every time the page loads. This shows you're thinking about real-world problems. Okay, so we've gone through 2 big technical hurdles, but I'm going to tell you the single biggest thing that'll get you hired, it's not actually your code. That brings us to Section 4, your secret weapon. And that weapon is communication. It's your superpower. Yeah, I absolutely love this quote because it just gets right to the heart of it. Look, any decent engineer can write code. That's the baseline. But a great engineer can explain their thought process, talk through trade-offs, and actually collaborate with a team. That's the person the interviewer is trying to hire. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's totally night and day. The silent coder is a black box. The interviewer has no clue what's going on in their head. But the strategic communicator, man, they are a partner in solving the problem. They're the ones saying, my first thought is to use a dictionary here for performance, but a simple list would be faster to implement. What's the bigger priority for this exercise? That right there, that's a massive hiring signal. Okay, so we've talked mindset, we've hit the tech skills, we've hammered on communication. So what's next? Where do you go from here? This last section is all about putting this into practice and starting your own path to mastery.
Look, if there's one thing to take away, it's this. You can't just watch videos or read articles. You have to actually do the work. Mock interviews? They are non-negotiable. Seriously, it's the only way to practice thinking clearly while your adrenaline is pumping. And of course, you gotta keep your skills sharp on coding platforms and stay up to date with the key frameworks your target companies are using, whether that's Selenium, Playwright, or Cypress.
And as you're doing all this, just remember what the real goal is. It's not about acing one single perfect interview. It's about building a system for your own continuous growth as an engineer. Every interview, whether you pass or fail, it's just data. It's a test case for your process. You find the bug in your approach, you fix it, and you get better. That's the loop.
So look, the next time you walk into that interview room, don't think of it as a test. Think of it as a performance of your problem-solving and collaboration skills. The final question they're really asking isn't, can you write this script? It's, can you make my team better? Are you ready to show them the answer is yes?